Hi everyone, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Oh, sorry, just getting my volume okay on my computer. And then let me just share this stuff. Share my live on my other pages while they're live. I always have a problem copying emojis. Hi guys, happy hump day. Let's see. Hi, thanks for joining. All right, all shared, good to go. Hello to everybody that's coming on. Hi, I'm good. How are you? Thanks for joining. Got my coffee. I got my beanie. Happy New Year! Happy New Year to you as well. I'm in New York City, which some of you already know, and it is just so cold. I know I always complain about it, but it's so cold. It was about, I don't know, 10 degrees this morning, 12 degrees this morning when I went to Soul Cycle. Oh my God, it is cold. All right, guys, today is a good day, and this is why. Because yesterday I had such a breakthrough. It was amazing, and it's really about fear and intuition, and it is really important to decipher between the two, and a lot of people couldn't really figure it out. It can be super confusing, right? Like, I consider myself an intuitive. I thought I was getting an intuitive hit yesterday, but I'll tell you that whole story after I introduce myself. My name is Justine Lezzie. I'm a spiritual teacher, intuitive coach. I'm also a crystal healer. I've been calling myself the spiritual alchemist only for a couple of days now, trying to keep everything under one umbrella and kind of finding something that works for me to kind of describe everything that I actually do. What I really do is I help people get spiritually connected, empower their intuition, and help heal themselves to create a life of emotional freedom. Because I believe everybody deserves that in life and can achieve it, right? So that's one of my core beliefs. My main one, really. So if you are interested to see how we can work together, I always throw my scheduler in the comments of my live, so you can schedule some time with me. So now that that's out of the way, let's go back to the intuition versus fear. And like I said, it's super confusing, right? Because I consider myself an intuitive, and yesterday I was just, okay, so I'll start from the beginning. So the very, very beginning is that I'm actually taking a trip to Asia by myself. I decided this a long time ago. I'm doing it while I'm in between apartments, which is in the spring, which is in April. And I booked everything on Christmas. At the end of December, I just have to book a flight. And everything is all set to go, right? I have my lodging all set up. So I'm super excited, right? And mostly I want to do this because during my spiritual awakening about 4 years ago, I actually really dove headfirst into Buddhism at first, right? So I actually treated myself to Thailand in 2014, I believe it was, and I had a great time going to the temples, really studying Buddhism in, a country that is 97% Buddhist. I just liked being in the culture, right? And it's time to go back and get reconnected. And I'm actually going to Cambodia, Vietnam, and possibly Thailand again. So I booked that trip for spring. And this is not the first time I'm traveling alone. Kind of is, right? So I have traveled alone before, but I've actually met people at the places that I'm traveling. So technically I was solo traveling, but I was actually meeting up with people. So I went to Hawaii back in November. I met my family there, but I took a completely separate flight. But so that is something that I am used to, but I'm not used to spending almost 3 months, away from everything that I find, everything that's really in my comfort zone, right? And but it makes me so excited, and I felt the fear and did it anyway, and I booked everything, right? So yesterday I woke up and I had this, and the only way I could really describe it, if I can describe my feelings, is that an elephant was sitting on my chest. Give me some hearts or some likes if you guys have ever felt that way, where you've woken up and then all of a sudden you feel like something's sitting on your chest, you feel very anxious. You know what, it's not really, like, I didn't feel too much anxiety because I know what that feels like, but it was... Honestly, I thought it was an intuitive hit that something bad was going to happen. Only knew that it was somewhere in the negative, right? Like, I just knew that this isn't a normal feeling. I don't feel joy. It was like it was like paralyzing, right? So all day yesterday, I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, thanks for the hearts, guys. On the sad faces, yeah. It is a sad feeling, right? So all day yesterday, I'm like saying to myself, I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting an intuitive hit that something bad is going to happen around the trip, right? Like, I knew it was about the trip, right? Like, that was the intuitive part, right? I knew it was about the trip. It just, every time I started thinking about it, I could feel the heaviness weighing more down on me. And I just knew it was about the trip, and I'm like, oh my God, is something bad going to happen? I feel like something bad's going to happen. You know, how do I explain this to somebody when I just have a feeling, right? Like, if you're intuitive like I am, and every time you have a feeling and people ask you, you know, why you have that feeling, it's very hard to explain that it's just a knowing or a clear feeling. It's really, really hard to explain. Trust me, I've been trying to explain these things my whole life. But it got so bad yesterday, I almost canceled the trip. That's how bad it almost got. And until guys, and this is why I always talk about making friends with like-minded people, right? Because like I said, a lot of people are not going to understand that feeling, but like-minded people will understand it, right? So I went to an awesome group that I belong to on Facebook, and I told them how I was feeling, and, you know, almost to the point where I was going to cancel my trip. I was desperate. And they really talked me through, and somebody brought up that, oh, like, it's fear. And let me tell you, a light bulb just went off. I haven't felt paralyzing fear in a long time. And you know what that means, guys? When you don't feel fear for a really long time, that means you've been chilling in your comfort zone for a very long time, right? And that explains a lot about where my life is right now. And basically, I haven't felt paralyzing fear like that. Yes, thank you, Lauren. Thank you. You helped me so much yesterday. Seriously, like deciphering both. But I have not felt fear like that since I quit my corporate full-time gig. And it was very similar. And when I was, but that was actually cleared to me. That part was clear to me when I was quitting my job. But I haven't felt, that was over a year ago. So I actually haven't, yes, I did know. You're right, Lorraine, you're right. Sorry, I'm getting like text messages and it's like distracting me a little bit. But, basically, I know Lorraine is saying that I didn't know it all along. I did. And you know what it is? I think what it is that I kind of just didn't want to believe it. Because I wanted to be like this fearful person that travels all the time and that type of thing. But it's okay to be afraid, right? And what I had to do last night is I had to sit in the fear and just let it pass, right? And today I feel a lot better. Yeah, I feel I feel a lot better because I allowed myself to feel it instead of fighting it. And I journaled a little bit, right? Like I journaled like, what are my actual fears? And it's really just about doing something that you're not used to doing, and it's scary going across the country without, you know, knowing anybody and being there for a long time. It's a really scary thing, but it's something that I do feel excited about. So that's the good thing, right? Is because I actually want to do it, and sometimes fear can overpower your desires, because that's what it's really here to do. So, I'm still doing it, right? I didn't cancel anything. I'm still going to go through it, but at least like now I'm aware of that fear, right? So I actually, when I was journaling this morning, I wrote down some things that could be helpful. So the thing with me too is that I do consider myself an intuitive, and I almost, quote unquote, know the feeling when I get it. But fear can be so like sheep in wolf's clothing that like it could be very, very hard to decipher, especially when it's super overpowering like it was yesterday. So I put together like a list of things that could really help you decipher between intuition and fear. So I'll go ahead and go through them. So, and again, I made notes, I usually do, just to make sure I can get clear and make sure I'm like explaining it in a way that's actually sort of kind of organized, right? So, okay. Number one, do the Claire test. So, what do I mean by this? So, basically, there are different Claires, which are basically, how do I explain this? They are basically different modalities of intuition, I guess. Yeah, I can use that. So basically, there's like clairvoyance, audience, clairsentience, claircognizance. There's a ton, but those are like the most popular ones. Like clairvoyance is clear seeing, clairsentience is clear feeling, claircognizance is clear knowing, clear audience is clear hearing, right? So it's kind of like a heightened sixth sense for all of these. Sort of, kind of. It's really hard to explain. So, if you're really connected, you'll kind of understand what that means. But basically, do the Claire test. Like, where is it actually coming from? Like, is it something that's coming from, like, are you getting this message, like, audio? Are you getting it from hearing? Are you getting it from knowing? Are you getting it from, are you getting the message from knowing? See, none of that was present yesterday because I didn't know that something bad was going to happen. I didn't feel that something bad was going to happen. I thought it was because of the elephant sitting on my chest, but I'll get to the third one. That was thought, right? So thought is not actually an intuitive hit, right? And a lot of people think it is because actually when I was growing up, I used to have these quote unquote thoughts, but actually it turns out they weren't thoughts. They were intuitive hits, right? So they were coming from a different channel, not from the mind. So, okay, so the second thing is it positive or negative? So, what I mean by that is that when it comes to negative, and yes, you can have an intuitive hit about being on the wrong path, right? But it's more about like super, basically the word that comes to mind is detrimental. So detrimental, like very, very heavy feelings, right? Because like a heavy feeling, like I keep saying that it felt like there was an elephant on my chest, but in reality, like it was a very detrimental feeling, like a very hopelessness, and that's another good one, hopelessness, terror. That should have been like my first clue, right? If I was feeling terror, feeling inadequate, those type of things, very, very heavy negative feelings. That is usually fear, right? Because fear lies in the negative. And if it's an intuitive hit, it'll be somewhere in the positive because that comes from spirit. Hopefully that makes sense. And then the third thing that I mentioned before is consider the source, right? Now intuition comes from soul, spirit, divine, God. It's actually a direct channel, and I really believe that. And this was actually coming from the mind, right? Overthinking things. So if I look back to not yesterday, but the day before, I was thinking about the flight, how long it was going to be, how long I was going to be away from my family, not realizing that all this stuff is building up to the tremendous fear I was going to wake up with the next day, right? So I actually created it, and my mind created it. So, because that's the only way that fear is created, right? Because fear can't live in the presence of spirit, right? And in the presence of love. It just can't, it's just not possible. So, my mind actually created it. And once I figured that out yesterday, it made so much sense. I was like, oh, wow, this is actually coming from a thought process, right? It's not coming from a divine channel. So, all right. So hopefully that made sense. It's a little tricky, like I said, and I'll tell you one more story before I head out. So about 4 or 5 years ago, I was in a relationship with my narcissistic partner, and not a long one at all, but it doesn't matter how long. But I used to feel like I got intuitive hits, and that's how I thought he was actually my soulmate, because I was feeling things that I've actually never felt before, and like my heart would beat so much faster. I'd feel heavy in the chest when I was around him. And later I was able to kind of process how I was feeling. And it was actually fear that was doing that to me, not an intuitive hit, not intuition. So, because I was actually afraid he was going to hurt me at any point, which I learned from his behavior, right? So I was creating that for myself. And I thought that my heart beating so fast every time I saw him was a good thing. Because I was so scared, because I loved him so much. But I was really fearful of the relationship and really of him and how he treated me emotionally and all these things. So that was actually fear-based, not intuition-based, which I later found out was a very hard lesson, but I found out. But yeah, that's like another example. So yes, it can trick you from time to time. Trust me, it put me through a loop yesterday. I was like, what is happening? You know, is something bad going to happen to me? And that was all brain, right? That was all mind. So remember, intuitive hits come from a source that is, not, ego or fear-based. So just remember that. Alrighty. Hopefully this made sense. I rambled just quite a bit, just a little bit. But hopefully it does make sense. If you have any questions, you want to talk further about it, let me know. And you can always message me, and then I'll put my scheduler in the comments. So hope to hear from you guys soon, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.